Now, honestly, I've spent a fortune on coaching over the years. Now, some of it changed my life, but some of it was a complete waste of time, money, and oxygen. Now, the difference was never about the price, and it took me years to work out what the difference was, and that's what this video is all about. If you run a business and you've ever wondered whether a coach or mentor would be worth the money, this one is for you, so please give me 5 minutes. Now, the coaching industry, doesn't help anyone, by the way. Coaching is totally unregulated and it's a free-for-all. Anyone can watch a few videos or do a weekend course, print some business cards and call themselves a coach by Monday morning. Now, some of the best people I know are coaches, but also, on the flip side of that, some of the biggest chances I've ever met are coaches as well. Now, telling them apart is your job, and nobody hands you the criteria to make that easier, so let me give you mine. Now, coaching and mentoring are two words that everyone mixes up, and it's important to talk about what each one is and what they're actually for. Now, coaching done properly is absolutely incredible, and it's the art of the open question. A great coach doesn't hand you any of the answers. They hold up a mirror and ask you something that no one else is willing to ask you. And normally the answer that you hear yourself saying out loud is you didn't even know you had it in you. So a great coach believes that all the answers to all the questions are within you, and the value comes out of you. Now that's really important, since you'll act on your own answers 10 times faster than you'll ever act on somebody else's. Now, mentorship is a totally different animal. A mentor has sat in your chair. They've made payroll on a bad month, they've hired wrong, they've priced wrong, and they stood in exactly the same fire that you're standing in now. Now, they don't have a clever question about the finance dealer sitting on your desk. They'll tell you they signed one just like it and it nearly took the house. The value comes from their scars, and what it buys you is the most expensive thing in business: time. Now, here's the problem with using either one of those on its own in isolation. A pure coach with no scars can ask lovely questions all day, but the moment you need to know whether that deal in front of you is sensible, they've got nothing for you. Oppositely, a pure mentor with no craft just tells you war stories all day and hands you their answers to their problems, which may have nothing to do with yours. Now, what a founder needs is both, in the same chair at the same time, and someone with enough experience to know which one to be at exactly the right time. As a coach or mentor, you need to know when to ask the right questions and sit back and wait for the answer to come out. Then when you need to put the mentorship hat on and talk about the scar that you picked up in a similar situation, when the answer needs to come from experience. Now, there's no proper word for that blend, but I stole what I think is the perfect description from Sir Richard Harpin, who sold his business Homeserve for £4.2 billion. He calls this Coachship. Thank you, Sir Richard, for that one. Now, he actually attributes his time and investment with coaches and mentors as one of the reasons he was able to become a billionaire in the first place. Now, he lists it as step number 4 in his book, How to Make a Billion in 9 Steps. So let's give this a bit more context. Let's think about a boxer for a minute. That's a pretty good analogy and picture to have in your mind. Now, no fighter on earth gets in the ring without a corner behind them. In that corner is always someone who has fought themselves and who knows what it's like at round 9 when you're inside the ropes. Now, between the rounds, they see what you can't see with a glove in your face and when you're getting punched in the nose. You're telling yourself you're winning, but they're telling you your right hand is dropping and the cut above your eye is pretty bad. You get 60 seconds of truth and then they put you back in the ring and off you go again. Now, I don't know anybody that watches a world champion and says they're weak for needing a corner. Founders, though, we try to go all 12 rounds on our own and then we call it something called strength. I think another great example of coachship are football managers, or soccer for you guys in the US. Think of Pep Guardiola. He's arguably the greatest coach of all time. Now, Pep played for Barcelona, so he can pull on his own time on the pitch. But he's now coached some of the greatest players in the world across 3 different countries and won major trophies in every single country he's been in. There are others that spring to mind really easily. Alex Ferguson, player, coach. Luis Enrique, Zinedine Zidane, Jurgen Klopp, Carlo Ancelotti. There are so many that fall into that coachship category. Now, I know both halves of coachship from the receiving end, and I'll tell you about the days I learned about each one. Now, I've talked elsewhere on this channel about my boardroom morning, We were winning on paper, growing fast, but underneath it I had a sick feeling in my stomach. Because frankly, I had no idea what I was doing. Now, that same day I've talked about, I rang Linda, my old boss, who was a boss from years before. Now, she'd won Welsh Businesswoman of the Year. She'd built her own business and done an exit. She tasted proper success and then became a business coach. So she was someone I could ask the right question and had been there herself. That combination is the whole point of this video. Myself and Linda, we had our first session 3 days later, and I remember the feeling I had when she was someone who understood what I was at the time. She was definitely not someone who was going to blow smoke up my backside with pointless flattery and to try and make me feel nice and fluffy. Because she'd known me long enough to call up my nonsense, she could also ask me questions I'd been too busy to ask myself. Then, when a question needed an answer from experience, she had an answer from experience. She'd stood where I was standing. So I had the question and the scar in the same chair. Now, things started really moving for me quickly after that week and that session with Linda. Now, on another version, years earlier when I was at my lowest after I'd lost everything, I was ashamed, I was embarrassed, simple as that really. No question or clever question at that point was ever going to get me off the floor. So a wise man who'd been through his own version of that fire gave me one sentence. Nobody tattoos failure on your forehead. That was the sentence. That sentence did more for me than a year of mirrors and smart questioning ever would have. Well, that was the scar working. Now, the uncomfortable bit for you, and I want you to answer this one honestly since nobody sees your answer but you. Who tells you the truth? Now, not who agrees with you, not who works for you, since even the best team filters what they say to the person who pays the wages. Who in the last 3 months has properly challenged a plan or a decision that you liked and made? Where do you go to think out loud about the big decisions? You know, the ones you can't share with that team and the ones you don't want to carry home. Now, for most founders that I work with, the honest answer is nobody and nowhere. Now, I'm not saying that to have a go. I'm saying it since it was my answer for years and it cost me plenty. So this week, I want you to audit your corner. Take 5 minutes with a pen and paper and write down genuinely who's in it. And when you've done that, next to every single name, I want you to put one word, question or scar. Are they asking questions or are they sharing from a position of experience with the scar? Now, what you're probably looking for and going to find is an empty seat. Most founders discover they've got plenty of cheerleaders, but no real corner at all. Now, asking for help isn't a weakness, by the way. In 25 years of doing this, it's the biggest single accelerator I've ever seen. Now, if you want to do that audit properly, I've built an assessment for it. Who's in your corner? It will take you less than 5 minutes and it shows you the shape of the council around you and exactly where the gap is. Now, the link is in the description and it's also pinned in the comments.